So I just finished watching Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, both seasons. So I must say this show is really good. This feels like going back to the roots of The Walking Dead. It's grounded. It has a personal story, not too convoluted over so many characters and factions. That's what I really like about this. The story is very personal and grounded, and you can actually care about the characters and you fully understand the stakes there are. Daryl is out there in France and he wants to get back home. So it's a very small scope story, and you can really wrap your head around it and you can actually feel the struggles that he goes through, right? As compared to how elaborate The Walking Dead, the original show, got in its later season. You have Commonwealth, you have these various factions, you have Negan's factions, you have Saviors, you have Hilltop, you have Ezekiel's faction. It was too elaborate and there were too many conflicts going on. There wasn't enough screen time, and they had the side characters and their side quests. They were not entertaining. So, one thing that was instantly different in this show was that the scope was very limited, right? It focused on telling a specific story that is of Daryl Dixon and his struggles in France and how he's trying to get back to home, right? And then, of course, the quest that he embarks on is taking this child to the nest, right? So that is what I instantly liked. It felt like home. It felt like a grounded story from the initial seasons of The Walking Dead, like season one, season two, season three, the whole story at the farm, surviving at the Herschel's farm, keeping the farm going. So, Walking Dead was really peak there in the first four season. Our group was just one group; it wasn't multiple communities. So that is one thing I really appreciated about this show. I really liked the characters, Isabel's character, how she progresses, how she evolves, and how Daryl is definitely at odds with her mission. He doesn't believe in any of that. I really liked Cordone's character, the first guerrilla we meet. I thought he was just gonna be a one-off villain, and he was a weak villain. It felt like at the beginning of the show, but they really evolved his character, how he switched sides and actually turned good. And then he supported our main crew, which is Daryl, Carol, and Isabel. So I really liked his evolution. I thought he was gonna be a one-note character, but I was wrong, and I really like this when the show gives you these interesting characters and how he comes to realize his mistakes. Beforehand, he was blaming, oh, Daryl, you killed my brother, and this and that. But then, after getting tortured by Jeanette and having so much time for himself, he comes to realize that partially his own actions led to those events. So he does take accountability and he isn't as much driven by revenge. I really like that. Now, now let's talk about the kid Laurent and Daryl, their father-son relationship. I really like that. Like Daryl adopts this kid. In the beginning, he finds the kid hella annoying, which is so in character for Daryl. But as time progresses, you see their bond develop and you see how the kid cares so much about Daryl that he's willing to sabotage their plan to get to the nest, like cuts the rope for the ship that's keeping the ship tied. So those kind of, innocent behaviors that a kid would typically do in such a situation, I think that's really good portrayal. I believe even better than how they portrayed Judith in the original show. I always found Judith's character to be a token in a sense that since Judith is Rick's daughter, you are supposed to like her, you're supposed to care for her. But I couldn't give two damns about Judith just because she was Rick's daughter. There wasn't much personality to her. She was pretty one note. Speaking of Rick's children, I found Carl to be much more intriguing. We were there with him from day one, and we had attachment to that character and how they killed him off, and all the controversy behind the actor and the producers slash writers. That is a whole other thing. But like Carl, he had dimension to him. He was complex. He was bratty. He was good. He was compassionate. He was even arrogant and aggressive at times. How he goes, meets up with Negan at the Savior's area. So very complex character. Laurent, I believe, is somewhat similar, not nearly as close to Carl's level, but he has his own unique personality. He's weird, but weirdly good in the way he communicates with people, in the way he sees the world. So I think that is good. Lighting complex characters, even for kids, is essential to make a show gripping, right? And I think they fumbled really bad with Rick's children. Couldn't care less about them. Uh, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who thinks that way. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about the Daryl and Carol reunion, because of course you can't have a Daryl story without Carol in it. And I really, really loved how they did this. The tease that Carol is coming, and then she arrived at the island with all of the problems in Greenland. I think that's really amazing. And I loved how they stayed true to the character. Carol has always been such a devious, manipulative bitch, right? How she went to Terminus and how she acted all sorry and all in trouble, and then she mowed them all down. We got that same Terminus Carol here in Greenland, I believe. No, we got the same Terminus level manipulative killing Carol in with the guy who flew the plane. What's his name? With Ash, right? She was just as manipulative and devious with Ash. I couldn't believe what she was doing, bringing Sophie in, talking about the daughter. She was total sociopath there. That's what I really like about Carol. She'll do anything. She'll even bring out her vulnerabilities in order to further her agenda. And I think that's cool because Carol is a very great character. If you remember the flowers scene, so I really love that. The crazy shit she pulled off to get to France, it wasn't pretty straightforward. I love the whole Greenland sequence, mainly because the scenery was great, and then the characters they introduced, they felt very crazy and in a unique. If you haven't seen this climate change environmentalist crazy stuff that you expect, but dialed to a 10, which is what I really loved about that whole sequence. And of course, Carol, continued to be a devious, mischievous killing machine all across the series. How she infiltrated the guerrilla, how she was with Jeanette. I really love that scene when she's sitting next to Jeanette. Jeanette is like, "Why are you looking for Daryl Dixon?" And Carol point blank says she wants to kill him. Like that kind of lady trying to convince a person and she sells it. It's great. I love that thing about her. And of course, when Daryl and Carol unite, and how Carol is, amused by this, French Daryl, like saying these French words, and he knows more about the place, and how she finds it so crazy that the both of them are here in France doing this shit. I think it was so well done. Thankfully, oh my god, they did not separate them once again at the finale. Like both of them, they stayed behind. That's good. Because if they had separated them, it would have been such a bad move. Like all the whole of season 2 would have been for nothing. So I'm glad she stayed behind. Now, let's talk about the main villain, who is Jeanette, the Guerrillas. And I will say Jeanette had potential, but it wasn't fully realized. Like she's giving this speech, and she has Daryl and Quinn below fighting steroid zombies, right? Roided up zombies. So I was expecting there to be a big agenda. Like Daryl actually won, she would see potential in him and she would bring him to the cause, like how Negan tried to do, and that would make her a great character. But no, she was just in it to further her agenda. Like she wasn't really in it for the people as she claimed. So, I mean, felt like they could do more with her character. I understand the whole revolution thing that she was going for, how the masses have to rise up and how the elites uh, world to this Walking Dead nightmare. Like, I appreciated her agenda, but it was lacking depth and backstory. She was a one note villain, which I don't like. Like, she's all about this, okay, I'm gonna go after Daryl, I'm gonna go after Isabel and the child. And that was her thing from day one until she died. She did not evolve. And of course, the fact that she couldn't trust anyone, like she would always go back on her word. Like how she says to Carol, okay, I'm gonna take you and you're gonna kill Daryl Dixon. She turns on Carol. She turn her into a roided zombie. She brings in people from the communities in France and tells them they're gonna be great soldiers for her. And then she does a 180 on them, betrays her own people, and tries to kill them and turn them into zombies. So I don't get how she's able to continuously betray her own people, her own subordinates, and get away with it. Like her people, her guerrilla would turn on her because she can't be trusted with her word. I just don't see it. Like, for example, Negan, he had rules, like had a cause. He wouldn't betray his principles even with the saviors. Like there's a sense of order he created. I don't get how Jeanette was able to create order if she's constantly going back on her word, if nobody can trust her word, right? She's undermining her own people. I think character was weak. She was just crazy dictator just for the sake of it. So I hope in season 3 we have better antagonist. Overall, I want to talk about the setting of France. I really liked it. Whole, especially in season 1, you have this winter vibe to it. We have this blue color grading in most of the scenes, and it feels wet and cold. And the architecture is, of course, very different from what you see in America, right? And I really like that. And it's also great how they mixed in the languages. Sometimes people speak French and they speak English. So I really loved that. I have no issue reading subtitles. And one thing I didn't like was that in season 2, the whole color grading I talked about, like in season 1, it looked blue, it looked cold. Like there was a specific visual style to France. And then in season 2, they made it yellow, typical Walking Dead colors. And that kind of blended it with the old Walking Dead vibe that you had. And color grading does play a big role in a specific feel. So it no longer felt like a new place. It felt like the same old Walking Dead, which is I think they should fix. Each show, each area, each region has its own color grading, and they should bring that in mind. So, like, if you who are not really into film and color correction and all this, a good example would be how in Game of Thrones, Daenerys's scenes, all of them, they are yellowish, oranges because she is in those desert areas, right? And then when you go to Jon Snow's area, it's blue and cold. North is cold. When you go to Westeros, it's warm colors, right? Now, when you're in France, especially especially in that area, the weather is going to be different from how it is in America. The terrain is going to be different. The color palette cannot be the same from country to country. So I think they should fix that. Okay. Yeah, this was my thoughts on the show. I think the show is great. I think it is a lot better than Dead City. And yeah, I think I would put Daryl Dixon's spin-off at number 1. And at number 2, I would put and at number 3, I would put Dead City, because Dead City felt like just an extension of the previous Legacy Walking Dead show. It wasn't all that good. It's too elaborate. And the characters are weak in there, except Negan and Maggie. So yeah, please share your thoughts in the comment below. And if you enjoyed the video, do press like and subscribe. It would really help my channel grow. And yeah, I will see you next time.